80% Numby's animation. Thighs that are horizontally abundant. Topaz is coming, and this is an in-depth pre-analysis of her skills, relics, team comps, and anything in between. This video will not use leaked info and only what Hoyoverse is publicly released. But wink wink, I'm sure you've already seen that because Hoyoverse's leak security is as tight as the gaping hole in the middle of Dan Hink's chest. Use the timestamps if you're looking for something specific. The first thing we'll cover is Topaz's skill set. The basic attack is very normal, but with her traits, this attack is considered as a follow-up attack. Her skill applies proof of death to the target and is also a single target attack. This skill is considered as a follow-up attack as well. Proof of death does three main things. First, it acts as Numby's attack target. It increases follow-up attack damage suffered, and finally, this effect is applied to another random enemy if the current one is defeated. Only one proof of death can exist at a time. Her talent summons Numby at the start of battle. It acts similarly to Lightning Lord, where it has its own speed and action value. The difference is Numby gets an action advancement when an enemy with proof of death suffers a follow-up attack. Every time Numby takes the turn, he performs a follow-up attack on the enemy with proof of death. If Topaz is downed, Numby disappears. However, there are no descriptions at the moment that would suggest that Numby can take a turn if Topaz is controlled, unlike Guinaifen with his Lightning Lord. Topaz's ultimate increases Numby's damage and crit damage. On top of that, Numby will gain an action advancement if an enemy with proof of death is hit by an ally's basic, skill, or ultimate. This effect will end after a set amount of actions is taken by Numby. This actively solves the issue of Guinaifen's Lightning Lord taking too long to take the turn, with nobody being able to help him take the turn quicker. Her technique allows Numby to search for basic treasures, which is neat, and if you enter a battle after using her technique, Numby's first attack will regenerate Topaz's energy. But Topaz's skill is basically Numby attacking, so do you gain energy with that, or does Numby have to take its own action for the energy? We will find out when she's released and after I test this, but I assume her skill is basically Numby attacking, so you probably gain a lot of energy with that hit. If you do win while Topaz is alive in the overworld, you're given extra credits with a set limit per day. If you do this in Simulator Universe, you'll get additional cosmic fragments and a small chance of gaining a curio. Very useful. Taking a deeper look, Topaz's kit alone leaves more to be desired in terms of damage increase and self-energy regen, which thankfully is solved by very strong traces. Topaz's A2 makes her basic a follow-up attack, which effectively makes Topaz's entire kit only consisting of follow-up attacks. Her A4 increases damage dealt to fire weakness enemies, which is much needed damage increase for her. A6, with the funniest name of all time, Stonk's Market, gives Topaz a set amount of energy if Numby attacks in its ultimate state. We don't know exactly how much yet, but it helps Topaz get her ult off quicker, which effectively means boosting Numby's overall damage output. From her skill set and traces, we can deduce that Topaz is a specialist in single target follow attack damage, and that she's not designed to be a hyper carry DPS. Her kit heavily relies on follow-up attacks and helps her allies as well. Compared to Jingliu that buffs only herself with every nuke and credit of her kit, Topaz has more than one source of gimmick that are designed to boost not only her own damage, but her allies. If you take a look at her signature Lightcone as well, it not only gives her stats, it also lands debuffs that help your team as a whole. Therefore, Topaz could be the most unique 5-star release yet, as the first ever support DPS, and her value will only get higher with stronger follow-up attack characters or relic sets in the future. It is worth noting that a majority of Topaz's damage will come from Numby. Case in point, her ultimate does nothing but make Numby go on steroids. With all that said, we can see a list of her pros and cons. Disclaimer, these are based on various sources and my own deduction. You are more than welcome to disagree, but I hope you keep it civil. Topaz has a high ceiling when paired with follow-up attack characters like, say, Clara. Topaz excels in singular boss fights. Topaz makes overall farming and SU a lot easier. As for her cons, she needs specific allies to work well. For example, you can't officially use a Bronya since similar to Jingyuan, Bronya's skill only lasts for a turn, unless you have E6. Jing and Topaz both will spend the buff instantly, leaving Numby and Lightning Lord without the buff. A great team would have a high amount of follow-up attack, which puts Clara at the top choice. And the problem is, well, you might not have her. But it's not to say she can't work without them. Using an Asta at her side will do more than enough, though Topaz won't be at her highest potential if she's paired with, say, Jingliu. And of course, she does not do well against multiple enemies with all her skills only being singular target. As for a Lightcone, it is easily the best in slot for Topaz. It has the good old 18% crit rate increase, which is always welcomed, and a whopping 30% follow-up attack damage increase. Pretty high. The unique part, however, is the tame state. After the wearer uses a follow-up attack, a tame stack is applied to the enemy up to 2 stacks for a total of 24% crit damage increase for your allies when you attack the target. This is perfect for Topaz and further cements her position as not the hyper carry, but the sub DPS with supportive abilities for her allies. Then again, I also do think if you want to use her as a hyper carry, it's not that you can't. This Lightcone has a similar design pattern as Jingliu's Lightcone, where its effect heavily favors only themselves and no one else really. This opens the question of whether you should go for the Lightcone, especially for a free-to-play, since they are hyper-specific Lightcones that will never be used on anyone else. Exploring the other Lightcone options, the free cruising in the Stellar Sea could be used, but the activation criteria involves defeating an enemy. That makes it a conditional Lightcone that might not go in full effect if you're fighting like a singular boss with a lot of health. If for some reason you have an unequipped in the night Lightcone, it is also a viable option. Although the ult damage increase would be wasted considering Topaz's ult does not really do damage. Rather, it buffs Numby. Unless if they still consider Numby's ult state to be an ult damage, which we'll find out when she released, right? For 4 stars, swordplay is likely better in terms of its effect. Topaz's entire kit suggests that she will attack a single target a bunch along with Numby, gaining the full effect of swordplay almost instantly, making this one of the top choices, especially at S5. Everything else will feel lackluster considering Topaz's specific kit design. While her own Lightcone is designed perfectly for her, no one else will benefit that much from it, so yeah, it's a pretty tough choice. I would suggest only going for it if you really like Topaz and you want to use her a bunch. As for Relics, the 4-piece fire set might not do that well for her since the bulk of her damage comes from Numby and not herself. It'd be best if there's something that boosts follow attack, but well, from what we have, 2-piece fire and 2-piece musketeer will likely perform the best since, well, they're kinda just nothing else that helps follow attacks. As for planar sets, it's undoubtedly going to be Inert Salsodo, the only relic set that helps follow attacks at the moment. However, I'm sure they'll release follow-up attack-based relics in the future though. There are way too many characters that benefit from it even right now. The main stats are the usual crit damage, crit rate body, speed boots, fire orb, attack or energy regen rope, which how effective will ERR be, we will only find out when she's out. As for the team composition, Topaz will need more specific allies on paper. To just tick off the solo sustain spot, Fushang will easily fill that role. The problem comes with the rest of your team and it will heavily depend on what you have. Bronya though still could be used, but you will lose out on her skills value since it's only for 1 turn, meaning Numby will only gain value from Bronya's ultimate and the action advancement through Topaz. Asta is likely the best harmony slot for a follow-up attack team since her charging stacks will be applied no matter how many turns the team takes. On top of that, her trace increases the team's fire damage, so even better for Topaz. A follow-up attack team that is extremely effective would be Himeko, Topaz, Asta, and Fushang. If you're using Clara instead of Himeko, it is better for you to swap out Asta for Tingit. It is better for Clara to not have that much speed, but more times to use her ult for her damage. The other follow-up attackers that can be considered would be Jingyuan and Himeko. Both has decently frequent follow-up attacks, but never as much as Clara could have. With that said, Jingyuan and Himeko will still benefit from Topaz's follow-up attack damage increase for sure, helping them reach a higher plane that they've never done before. And in terms of her banner value, we have Guinaifen, which on paper looks like someone who would do well with Kafka with the dot damage, right? But Sushang and Luka, which both does not have anything to do with Topaz herself. So if we were to measure their individual values, Luka and Guinaifen will likely be pretty decent if you have a dot team featuring Kafka. And Sushang herself, we all know how solid she is, but nothing too crazy. But I will certainly take an E6 QQ that's in the current banner out of all of these stuff. Follow-up attack specialist, Stonks Aficionado, Die Extraordinaire. Topaz will be coming soon and I can't wait to test out some fun stuff for you guys. I'm testing out this new format for guys or pre-analysis as well, so do let me know if you liked it. I also actively search out comments to do a whole entire video for it, so do let me know what you want to see. I'm that no life with this dude, and that is all. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.